Hey team, well, I'm at Granite Canyon Trailhead, the base of the Tetons, and we're gonna see how far I get up Granite Canyon. Should be a spectacular day, maybe some bear encounters. It's that time of year. The berries are out, the bears are out, so we'll see. But today we're gonna dive into how we all can maybe get a little bit faster as we age. I have all types of runners, all types of abilities watching this channel, and one thing we all have in common is we're all getting older. We're all gonna get older. There's always a way for all of us to get stronger as we age, and we're gonna talk about how getting stronger can actually equal getting faster as we age. So let's go. But while I got some good sunlight before we get into the trees, let's talk about what's on my feet. Today, again, it's the Norda 002. This is kind of one of my go-to shoes this year, and it's going to be perfect for just kind of a romp around the canyon trails and kind of just nice and easy endurance type of running, and it's a perfect shoe for that. I have a lot of videos on the channel about speed, how to get faster, and in reviewing comments, there always is a misperception and a confusion on the difference between speed work in the form of a workout and getting faster. And I want to use a crazy example to help drive this home. Is that it's mid-September, maybe you're planning the last few patio cookouts with friends and neighbors, and you're gonna grill or you're gonna barbecue. And those two terms, grilling and barbecuing, often just get thrown out there as an arbitrary term and way of cooking. But there are very specific definitions and distinctions between grilling and barbecuing. Grilling, by definition, is cooking something at a very, very high heat for a very, very short time. And this is synonymous in my example with speed work. Something very short, very fast. So you're grilling, you're really cooking the meat, whatever it is, at a high temperature and very quickly. Opposed to barbecuing, which is a term that is meant for very, very low heat and a very, very slow cooking time. And within this, there are many ways to barbecue. There's many different sauces and flavors and recipes that you can apply to this slow cooking, low heat in the form of barbecuing. And that's the analogy to getting faster. There's many ways to get faster. And today we're going to talk about how getting faster in the form of getting stronger. So let's go. And with this, we're going to talk about how you can become the best barbecuer, the best chef for you, and deciding how you can detect what you need to do to get stronger and faster. I just ran into a couple hikers and they asked me directions and questions on directions of the trails, and I asked them, where are you planning to get to? And they said, we're not quite sure. And this is kind of like topic today of getting faster as we age. It's really, really important to understand where and how you want to get faster so you can measure it. It's going to be super hard for those hikers to find their destination when they don't know what their destination is. So let's talk about a few ways that you can get faster by getting stronger in base building. Today, when I talk about strength, I'm talking about strength that we can achieve while running, through running workouts. So runners on my channel are often surprised when I talk about the 3 pillars of base building. And those 3 pillars are endurance, speed, and strength. And obviously they're most surprised by the speed and the strength as a component of base building. We all kind of been conditioned in how endurance and building that foundation is so important, but so too is building strength and speed. And I have a lot of videos on this, so dive in. But where I want to go today, talk about, again, a few things that you can do to improve your strength during base building that ultimately help you improve your speed or your barbecuing, right? Okay, so first one is doing force-based workouts. And those are workouts that are used on a hill. The steeper the better. And you are doing anywhere from 15-second steep fast hill repeats, building all the way up to about a minute's worth of hill repeats. And again, this is a force workout. And what this is doing is, by the nature of the steepest hill you have and keeping them short, the intensity is a lot higher. You're producing a lot more force into the ground to go up the grade relative to most of all your other running. And so this is developing and increasing your force production into the ground, again, to go up that hill. And then this translates to more force production across the board. So as you're doing your zone 2 endurance runs during base building, now each step just becomes a little bit more forceful. And this increase in force into the ground just allows you to increase your distance per stride, which ultimately increases your speed. And then secondly, during base building, instead of always running your long runs by heart rate or by perceived exertion, do your long runs and build your long runs occasionally in what I call your speed zone 1. And for me, part of my speed zones, this speed zone 1 is a certain pace, and it is relative to 65 to 70% of your fast mile time. Again, remember, I use the mile time to test my athletes and to formulate my heart rate zones and my speed wattage training zones. So if occasionally you're doing your long runs on a flat course at your speed zone 1, 65 to 70% of that mile test, this improves your cadence and your strength to be able to hold that speed, which will help you develop more strength endurance. Being able to run long, holding a very consistent speed. And if you're a trail runner, a mountain runner, during the off season, oftentimes runners abandon doing long runs on flat terrain. And by doing this, you're gonna, again, train that turnover that is missing when we're doing a lot of trails and we have slower leg turnover. So now you're gonna have that consistency, that focus that will then in turn help your cadence and strength when you hit the trails. Getting up out of the trees, getting a little bit more of a view. Okay, so while we're still in our base building phase, it's important to understand there's 2 ways to get faster. One way is increasing your distance per stride, and the second way is increasing your cadence, or the amount of time you're striking the ground. And with these 2 styles of workouts, the force and the long, flat endurance runs at speed, we're accomplishing both of these. The force increases your distance per stride. The long, flat distance speed runs are aim to help you increase your turnover, your cadence. So now let's gravitate into what I call the specific phase, or some people call it the build phase, or it's called many things, but it comes after your base building phase. And in my coaching, it's typically 8 weeks, but can also be 12 weeks in length. And so where I want to discuss today is, I think it's important to, at this point, start asking yourself some questions. And those questions are, what am I used to doing? What do I always do? What do I gravitate to? And what's missing? What am I not doing? What do I not like to do? Typically, especially experienced runners, as they run longer and longer through life, they start gravitating to what they're good at, what they always do, and therefore they like to do it, but they don't realize they're hitting a plateau and they're missing out on that variety that's so important. And they gravitate away from the things they either don't enjoy doing or don't feel they're good at. Therefore, it feels a little bit more challenging. But this is where we can continue to improve strength, doing the things we're not doing. Okay, and I'm going to give you a couple examples. Okay, we're going to take that force workout we did in base building, a very short, steep hill repeats, to now longer repeats. Now we're in the specific phase. Now we're starting to take that strength that we built and morph it and manufacture it into strength endurance. So now we're looking at intervals 3+ minutes. So typically I found athletes gravitate to longer intervals, especially if you're trail runners. You're just maybe getting those intervals on your trails. So I'm going to recommend looking and asking yourself, am I used to doing 3 to 8 minute hill repeats at steep grades? Something maybe even steeper than what you would normally run at a race that becomes a hike. Again, we're taking that force that you generated and produced in base building and now applying it to more endurance and lengthening those intervals. So now they're moderately hard, kind of a threshold type of workout, and they're anywhere from 3 minutes to 8 minutes in length. If you don't have hills, jump on the treadmill. I know, do something that you're not used to doing. It'll help your cadence as well. The other component I want you to look at is, especially with trail runners and ultra runners, is that even though we're in a specific phase, and what's most specific to ultra marathoning is running really, really long in that phase, what is often missing to develop speed and strength endurance is doing some of your long runs much, much, much faster. And so what we need to do is that we either need to do that in a long run in the form of 20-minute intervals, or broken up in intervals, 10 to 20 minutes, or say, instead of going out for my 5-hour run today, I'm gonna go out for 2.5 hours and make it a really, really hard, fast run. Again, doing what I see most people are missing, okay, doing what maybe isn't what we choose to do. And I think the key there is deciding that you don't always have to go out for a super, super long run every weekend. And by taking it down from 5 hours to 2.5, now you can run 2.5 pretty fast without kind of mentally burning out from going 5 hours. We don't want to run hard for 5 hours, okay? If you'd still choose to go out for 5 hours, like I mentioned, break it up in 20-minute intervals. Maybe in the middle of it, you're doing 4 by 20 minutes of faster running and then finishing up easy. But again, be serious and honest with yourself. Are you always trying to think and feel like you need to do that long run? And if you are, you're going to benefit so much more from a strength endurance standpoint by doing something much, much faster and a little bit shorter. Okay? So another thing to consider as we age to get faster and stronger is that the longer we race, the more opportunity there is to get stronger. So choosing longer races gives you a much broader scope in ways to get stronger, ultimately getting faster per the content of this video. So pick a longer race. All right, today's a happy day. Before, on my way to the trailhead, I actually got a call from my daughter who's in university, and she was so happy. She just got her first internship, and again, she was ecstatic. Her adrenaline was high. She was just so happy and so proud of herself. And we talked and laughed and smiled and then hung up. And then on the trail, before I headed out, I texted her and I said, you know, quite often our mind and thoughts always gravitate to the negative and the bad things that maybe we see or perceive that happen to us. And so today is a joyous day. So allow yourself the permission to be successful and to congratulate yourself and give yourself a pat on the back and realize your success. So I think that's a great way to end this video, is that we can perceive getting older as a negative and we're getting slower, or we could turn that around and look at the things we're not doing that can get us stronger, that ultimately gets us faster as we get older. Like I mentioned at the top of the video, there's always a way to get stronger. So switching our mindset from, hey, I'm getting slower and about speed, to what are the ways I can get faster? What are the things I'm not doing, and start doing those. And then allowing yourself success and congratulations for doing those things that maybe you don't want to do. Deciding and understanding the difference between grilling and barbecuing, the difference between speed training and getting stronger is the key. All right. Time for my descent down Granite Canyon. Thanks for following along. So over and out from Granite Canyon, the Tetons, Jackson Hole, Born to Run World. See you guys.